I want to talk today about the Chernobyl situations because we got that cloud of irradiation from Ukraine. Actually, Chernobyl was in Ukraine. I did had a request about the money circulation, how people were getting paid, how they purchase things, and that there's funny things to tell about that. I will let that for maybe the next video. This time, I just want to take a few easy things, easy subjects. So we did heard about the Chernobyl explosion that was in the news. And we didn't exactly know what happened, basically, but we did know that there was a radiation cloud coming towards us, towards our country, and that basically covered pretty much a good part of Europe. We had no idea if that's dangerous or not. But I do remember that at some point we were taken to a clinic and given a pill. This was for the children, and they were just a white pill. We would say that this is going to help with radiation. I don't think the radiation was really a problem for us because we're really far away from Chernobyl. But it's just that they give us a pill, and you can see that sometimes there are things that do happen even in communist countries. A communist country is not desert. There still are institutions, there still are people who are doing things, there is still research and stuff like this. There is still an organization. It's just that, like I said in the videos and future videos, there's a lot of things missing and other problems. So we had this pill that nobody asked for, and we had no idea that such pill exists. And basically, I wonder what that pill was. Maybe that was really placebo, just powder, whatever they give for placebo pills, because I don't know if that had any kind of effect. Now, the Chernobyl thing had a good part for me because that summer, usually Romanians that had maybe a good income, the average income, maybe not the poorest people that maybe work in a store like, clerks and stuff like this, they had less good salaries. But the people who had salaries, even those in the factories, engineers, and all these people professional, they usually will get a holiday, and oftentimes Romanians like to go to the seashore, the Black Sea shore, which is very nice. I enjoy it a lot, but these days pretty run down. It's not exactly not clean, and it's this whole story. So we did oftentimes went to the seashore for maybe 2 weeks, and that summer of Chernobyl, this is what I heard from my parents, is that the tourism went really down, was very, very low, the seashore, because people were afraid of radiation. Again, we had no information, we had no education about what could possibly come from Ukraine, from Chernobyl, but it's just that people got kind of scared and they wanted to be played safe. And at that point, my parents were already divorced. I have a brother, and my dad actually took a holiday in the summertime, and because there was low tourism, he was able to book in a hotel that was most of the times reserved to the privileged people. That summer there were places, perhaps the prices were low too. I have no idea about the prices on hotels at the seashore. I will guess maybe you would pay for a room for a day with maybe a breakfast or maybe even a dinner. I'm just throwing this maybe 80 coins. I call this coins because the Romanian money, actually it's called leu in Romanian, which literally means lion. And I think it's too funny to say it all times in this video, 20 lions, 50 lions, 100 lions, 1000. I mean, people will get confused. That's why I'm saying coins, Romanian money. And I would guess maybe a room would cost something around 80 coins for a day. So it's not exactly cheap. It's not crazy expensive, but like I said, people did have quite a bit of money. They didn't know what to do with part of their money. Anyhow, so my father did book at a hotel that was more for the privileged people, and we did had on the seashore also hotels that were reserved for the foreign people. Like we did had people from the communist part of Germany, RDG, Czech Republic, Poland. We did had quite a few tourists, and oftentimes these tourists will bring things and we just purchase things from them, like I was saying in another video, black market. But we did went that summer at this hotel, and I do remember it was pretty upscale, nice place. And I do remember that we went one night. He took us to a restaurant, kind of a restaurant with kind of a show. There was a stage and more upscale. And again, this most of the times was reserved for the privileged people, but that somewhere was kind of accessible because of the situation in Chernobyl. And I do remember that night, and I do remember this price. We sat on tables. I was with my father and brother, and we had a show, and someone was singing on a stage, and we had to order something, and I do have a very, very good recollection at this moment. My father looked on the list, and he obviously there was food and drinks, and he had to order something, and he chose the cheapest thing. And that happens to be a glass of Cinzano. Cinzano, perhaps you know the drink. Glass of Cinzano. That's exactly what I'm saying. The cheapest thing there was a glass of Cinzano. And I recall perfectly the price was, at least that's what my dad told me at that moment, was 120 coins, which is absolutely insane, completely unreal. But such drink did not exist in the country, at least in the last quite a few years of the communist period. Such drinks, you see, the drinks we drink, alcoholic drinks, would be oftentimes beer, and the beer was really amazing. I mean, I'm not just bragging about it. Beer in Romania, go try it. If you ever visit Romania, it's not exactly easy to visit because there's no much tourist information in English. But if you go visit, drink beer and try to ask the people what's the best, maybe it's called Ursus. I'm not sure if they're still making it. But the beer was really good, but that was about it. We had beer, we'd have some strong alcohol, maybe 40, 60%, call it Tsuika, and a couple of other things, but there was no import drinks. And that's the only time I did see one kind of import drink, that's Cinzano. And I think I did sip a little bit of it, and my father really took the time to sip it at 120 coins. That was perhaps the price for a night at that hotel. So this is just to give you an idea. And let me just pass this before I pass to the next subject. I think I will end this series of videos at some point by the moment of the popular revolt, the 89, December 89. And I'm just inserting this now because at the moment, we see we had a few districts in Bucharest which were reserved for the privileged people. And Ceausescu himself was living in one of these districts. He had a palace. Palace was a really big place, not a palace like maybe in Arab Emirates, but those districts was reserved for the privileged class. And one of these districts was by the national television. Basically, there was only one national television institution construction building, and the district just by the side of this television was reserved for the upper class, was with nice villas, which actually got completely destroyed in the revolution, but that's another story. But we did have footage on YouTube about the revolutionary people who went through the houses of the privileged people in December 89, and they just raided the houses and stole everything they could find. And there is footage about one of these villas that was by the national television, really close to it, so was a high-ranked guy. And I just could not believe my eyes. There is footage, there's people like riot people, revolutionary people, if you want, getting into the house. And then at some point, there are people outside the house, and someone is filming, had one of those old big VCR cameras and VHS cameras, and they start bringing from the house, so it's a house, it's not a store, they start bringing foreign drink bottles. I don't think I will be able to find again that video, but it was really like emptying a store, a liquid store. This is Romania, where we've never seen, I can tell you, I did drink 2 bottles of Pepsi in my whole life, whole childhood. I never seen a single bottle or a can of Coca-Cola, never seen it, only on TV. So we had no foreign drinks, and those people were bringing out from that high-ranked guy house, villa, They were bringing an entire liquid store. They were just bringing bottle by bottle. This is in December 89. And they were saying, this is Cinzano, this is whiskey, I don't know what kind of whiskey, this is this. It was mind blowing. At some point, I was saying, this must stop. It cannot be possible. The guy had all the, I guess, all, I don't know how many brands are on the planet, but he got such a variety of bottles. That was unbelievable. This is the black market. I mean, it's impossible that guy had all those bottles for himself. It's just impossible, virtually impossible. And it wasn't just bottle by bottle. It was like boxes with bottles at some point. So this was one of the black market providers, high rank person. Obviously, all high rank person, many of them were really involved in this black market. All right, let me just keep going through this. On a more light note, maybe you wonder, how did we know about what was going outside the country? Because we had no papers, we had no journals, anything, no information, not at the TV. What is perhaps surprising is that the theaters, actually, at least in Bucharest, they did present international movies. Maybe not all the movies, maybe not horror movies, or not, I don't know what, fancier ones, but we did have this chance, this opportunity to go to a theater. There was a special street in the center, city center, and there were several theaters, and there were many big blockbusters. And I do remember that many of them were actually Western movies, so we did know about Clint Eastwood and whatever else. But one that really marked me, that I really did recollect about those moments, was Star Wars. So we did have Star Wars. We did. I don't remember exactly how did we know that it's going to be Star Wars at the movie theater. But I did went, and I think I've seen all the trilogy, all three movies, or at least two of them. And I can tell you that the theater's room was packed with people, packed. I mean, obviously all the seats were taken, but all the place that you can stand, the people were sitting and watching the movie. I think it's a pretty long movie, like 2 hours. So all the duration of the movie standing and watching this. And for us, it's hard to describe, but it was like seeing Santa crossing your door or something like this. It was really amazing. And obviously Hollywood is Hollywood, and there's a lot of exaggeration, but this was the place where you could see that there is a world outside your country, basically outside your borders. That's where we will see about foreign cars, I don't know, foreign food or something like this. Not Star Wars, I mean other movies, but that was surprisingly the last place where you could have a contact with the exterior. And the other one I was saying in the other video was by the radio, one special station, Radio Free Europe in I think it was in Western Germany, who would inform us more on politics, social issues. So, and the ticket wasn't that expensive. And also because back in the days we did had the movies were on a 35 millimeter film. I don't have an explanation, but it was very, very common for the film itself, the plastic roll, to break in the middle of the movie. At some places during the movie, like 2-3 breaks like this was very, very common. We were really used to it. Just like I was saying in another place, we were used to when the light would go off at home. It was really, we knew it's going to happen during the movie projection. And we just, when it happened, it's like the screen goes blank and we're like, oh no, come on, not now. I mean, it could be at the worst possible moment during the movie, with suspense and stuff like this. And we would wait perhaps a couple of minutes, and all the time, basically all the time, it will just start again. Maybe they have a second roll, I don't know, maybe we'll stick it together for some reason. The guys were skilled at the projector, but it will always continue. Maybe because I like to put some funny parts in these videos. You see, like I said, we did had all the resources, medical included, but the medical sector was difficult because the medication was very lacking, and oftentimes if you had surgery, you had to pay for a medication from your pocket, like illegally if you want. But also, from what I remember, you had to bring sometimes your own medication, and this is more difficult for, especially for old people. But I did had to went to dentist. I'm one of those kids. I was one of those kids that parents told them this is a toothbrush, use it, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I did had to go quite a few times to the dentist, and my mother was even worse. She did neglect a lot, and she had big work done to her teeth. But what's perhaps surprising is that until the age of 18, I did not know that anesthesia exists when you go to the dentist, those syringes and the shots. I didn't know. I didn't know. I haven't seen a single syringe in a dental cabinet. Maybe those were cabinets only for kids because we had one on the school, but I had no idea that there is anesthesia, any kind of anesthesia. And so basically I had all my fillings, dental fillings, done without any kind of anesthesia. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, I would guess that that was the norm. I don't think at my school was something different than at schools. It was just like that, at least for kids, because dental filling perhaps was considered not to be needed, those freezing shots. However, my mother, who had a lot of work, implants, I think she had implants too. I do remember that perhaps during Ceausescu time, I do remember she was telling me about her experience when she would come back from the dentist, that she was really crying in pain. So I would guess there was not much anesthesia for that either too, but perhaps there was a little bit because you cannot really do an implant without anesthesia at all. But she was really expressing those pains for her. As for me, I guess other kids, it was painful. Those, what was the name, drills? Those drills actually work with water. So there's like a small spray that sprays water, and basically the idea is that the drill is hitting the dent, the teeth, and that heat actually it's causing the pain from the nerve. So it's really just a heat up, and there's water. So I guess that water was enough, but I do remember it was painful, and if it was painful at some point, I would just like freeze like this, or have a nice spasm, and then the dentist will just remove the drill and wait a couple of seconds and continue. So it was painful, probably, I remember that, but it was really no anesthesia for kids. And at the same time, you see, at least back then, the medical school in Romania was very good. The doctors were really skilled people, like not just careless people, because they didn't really get paid. They had extra money from the clients, but it wasn't a business. Here in the Occidental world, medicine is a business basically. So there's tons of people, and I'm complaining in another videos because I had some health issues, tons of doctors that are really running this as a business, and they don't really care about you. But the Romanian doctors were really caring, good, at least a part of them. And I think they were also very skilled. So if you are really raising your eyebrows because I'm saying no anesthesia on kids at dentists, the dentists were really doing it in such ways so it was kind of, I could tolerate it. So that's interesting, perhaps, just to get an idea. I'm trying, I was saying in another video, I'm trying to put one video with only pictures, so get an idea about those times. One of the things that we perhaps do remember, all of us from Romania, is that the transportation was really packed. And you will see perhaps in those pictures in a future video that people will just, it was especially last years, we had those trams, we have the buses, we have trolley buses. and people would just pack the bus, let's say, and then they will just sit on the stairs. So you have those stairs that go inside the tram or the bus. The conductor will never close the doors. It was perfectly accepted, and people were really packed on the stairs. So there usually is like 2-3 stairs, and there is a bar in between, when you climb the stairs to get inside. And there was, on the stairs, you will find maybe 10 people, sometimes even more. And you will see even sometimes on the tram, you have 2 wagons, and there's a connection in between the wagons. You will see in the pictures, there are people, especially young kids or so, who are sitting on the connection between the wagons, completely crazy. And no, let's not think about accidents, but that was really reality, and you see it in the pictures. What daily reality, especially in the last years. And I do remember one moment. Obviously, I did travel like this a lot, but I do remember one episode when maybe it was a bigger delay, because the delay was causing this the staying on the stairs. When it was a bigger delay, but I do remember everybody ran to get inside, and the stairs were already packed, and I could see a small piece on this last stair where I could put my foot, and I could slide my hand to grab that hand bar that's sitting in the middle of the stairs. It's a solid bar usually, although there are many people grabbing on it, so you better hope you are lucky on that day. You never know with the screws and stuff like this. And I do remember people were grabbing on the doors themselves. The doors are like folding doors on each side, and those doors were pretty damaged at some point. So I did grab that bar, and then the tram, yes, it was a tram. The tram starts moving, and then I feel like someone is grabbing, I don't even remember exactly, my shoulders or my chest or something like this with his arm. And I think maybe this guy wants to pull me back to take my place, but no, that guy grabs on me, completely on me, puts a step by my step, and starts riding the tram, basically hugging me or something like this. And I was young at that moment, so this was an adult. And I was basically holding my hand on the handbar and holding both of us. I could hold myself. It's not very safe, but it wasn't a risk. But I could not hold another person that was really hot, like it was like a backpack on me. And we did ride like this. The distance in between the station wasn't that much. I think perhaps a few minutes, 2-3 minutes or so. And the speed is not exactly big, especially when the tram was really packed with people like this. But it's maybe it's 10 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour or so. It's still at speed, and you don't want to drop off and hit the street, or maybe go under the wells. So at some point, I could feel that I just could no longer feel my hand. I had only one hand grabbing myself, and I say to the guy, dude, it doesn't work this way. I'm not going to hold it until the next station. So just jump and just take the next tram. But the guy is no way. No, I'm not jumping. I'm not waiting for another tram. And we still rode for maybe 30 more seconds. And at that point, I felt like I was sleeping, and just my hand was just letting go of the bar. And I turned to him and I say, look, dude, in the next 10 seconds, you have 2 choices. You jump by yourself, or you fall altogether down on the street. And then I think I was pretty serious at that point, and I was very honest too. And the guy got the point, and he jumped off, and he did that fast walk, like running almost. And he landed well. He was fine, and I got to the next station. So yeah, that was one interesting story. Now, in between the cities, like I said, we did like to travel to holidays, and also there were people traveling in between the cities a lot. And because the cars were pretty scarce, like private cars, and the gasoline, I will need to say this at some point, we had about, I was searching for this information on internet. We had about 30 or 40 liters or quarts. It's about the same amount. But if you want 40 liters, that's going to be perhaps 10 gallons or so, plus minus, of gasoline for every car every month. So this was the maximum amount that you could go, and those cars were kind of Renault cars that were maybe getting, I'm not good with MPG, 7 liters per 100 kilometers. I would say perhaps that's around maybe 35 mpg or so, plus minus. So we didn't have a lot of gasoline, and the gasoline liter, I could find an information on Google. I'm not sure if it's true, but I could find someone that was saying the gas would cost 10 coins for a liter, which means your average salary is 2,500. 10 coins, you mean you get 250 liters from a whole salary for a person. So it seems quite expensive, but anyway, you couldn't really find it, and there was really long lineups at the gas stations. So oftentimes people would just travel by train, and I have nice memories about traveling by train because yeah, maybe I'll try to put this down about it's not day camps. We will go for camps for kids, but usually we will just leave the house, leave the city, and just stay at some other location, usually at the mountains, for 1 or 2 weeks with plenty of other kids. And this was quite common during the summer. Yes, during the summer, less so during the winter time. So I did myself travel a lot with train, and this was very common, very popular. The train traveling was very popular and also very fun for some reason. The trains were decent, not very special. I guess in wintertime you would freeze inside. Summertime there was no AC, no air conditioning, but it was very popular. And it seems now Romania has become so corrupt because communism is corrupting the society completely. And when the communism falls, and I'm saying this on YouTube comments sometimes, when communism falls, the whole country that is trying to get rebuilt after a communist era, the whole country is corrupted to the bone. It's not corrupted, it's rotten, because everybody that's in power at that point in the industry and the banks and politics, it's the people that came from the communist times. All those people are 150% corrupted. It's impossible to change this kind of hierarchy. You just, when a communist falls, you just take off the cream of the top, the top leaders, but everything else remains in place, and the whole economy, politics, social situation is rotten, is not corrupted, it's terrible. So it seems that in Romania right now, the train situation, it's just terrible. It's really terrible. It's going really down. During those times, in Ceausescu times, it was much better. Okay, so maybe I wrote this. I should talk a little bit about the toys that I had when I was a kid. So also as a boy, I was just having boys' toys. Didn't have boys' toys, and I do remember having those small cast cars, I think called that, like metal small cars. I don't remember exactly how I got them, but I used to play with those. Those were really my toys oftentimes. And otherwise, we just had books. I would read books a lot, and we did had quite a few books. So maybe there's a censorship at some point. Some kind of literature was prohibited, but we did had, I do remember we had a lot. Obviously, this is international literature, so we had a lot of translation in Romanian, a lot of books, libraries too, but also at my home I had a lot of books. And I cannot really give you example. I was reading a lot of I don't know, we call this police stories or something like this, but it's not police. It's just like, those assassins that there's a crime and they try to find a killer or something like this. I don't know how to tell that in English, what's the name for it. But I did read a lot of these things, and maybe other literature stuff. Okay, let me just close this video with the event that is not necessarily related to communism, maybe some part, but that I did experience in my life. Actually, I did experience it twice, but first time I was really small. I was like 3 years old, so I don't remember at all. But the second time was in '86. Romania is a place where you do have earthquakes, especially the south and I think southeastern of Romania, which is basically where Bucharest is located. And we did had constantly every maybe 50 years or so we have big earthquakes. And unfortunately, those buildings, especially the newer buildings built by the communists, were not really up to the standards of safety for earthquake, especially for the bigger ones. And when I was small, when I was 3 years old, we had an earthquake that was really big. We had casualty in Bucharest, buildings, entire block apartments that went really boom, were kaput. And also in '86, I think I had this experience. Then I was a teenager, and I do remember that it was late at night, at that night, and I was watching TV, and I think at night, really past 11 o'clock or so p.m., we could see on the TV, on a TV channel, we could see a movie from Bulgaria. This was in Bucharest. And I do remember I was watching that movie, was something with murders and whatever, cops and stuff. And I do remember I got asleep, was late at night. I got asleep, I woke, I was in the living room and the light was on. The TV had these dots, when the program finished. And I just woke up. I was really like lazy to wake up, but I had to just stand up. I closed the TV and I closed the light and I went to the corridor to my room. And when I put the hand on the handle of the door of my room, I felt like the floor was starting to jump like a trampoline. So this was a pretty strong earthquake, but the type of wave on this earthquake, actually there's just two types of waves. Usually there's horizontal one and vertical one. This was a vertical one, and it's not so destructive, but it's really powerful and I can feel it very well. Especially if you live in tall buildings. So I felt the floor was shaking like this. It's very scary situation. I did wake my mother, and it was quite a long earthquake, perhaps 1 minute or more. And we did stand on door frame. For some reason, Romanians think that in the door frame you are a little bit safer. I don't know, maybe you die faster. I don't know what's the point, because the door frame is not going to hold 10 stories above you and save your skin, right? But I do remember I was hugging my mom, and we had the light on in the living room. And I do remember hearing the wall, listening to the walls shaking and cracking, and they did crack in the room and stuff. A pretty scary experience, but at least after these earthquakes, the state came and they repaired all the buildings. At least it was aesthetic repair, because the walls were cracked and sometimes even the structure was damaged. There was no building that collapsed when at that moment in '86. But the state did repair these buildings, so at least they were taking care of the situation somehow. Yeah, so okay, see you in the next video, and I'll try to talk about I have more things here. I did put down on the paper more social things perhaps in the next videos. And also, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section. I'll try to answer you for that. Thanks for watching.